RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week, and thanks for joining us. I'm Katie Hines. First, a major development in Washington regarding the Russia investigation. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn has pleaded guilty to making false statements to the FBI, a charge that could land him in prison for up to 5 years. Court documents released on Friday show Flynn has been charged with one count of willfully and knowingly making false statements to the FBI back on January 24th. Prosecutors with Special Counsel Robert Mueller say Flynn told the FBI that he had not discussed sanctions with the then Russian ambassador to the U.S. ABC News reports Flynn is prepared to testify that then President-elect Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians about issues including working together to fight ISIS. Flynn is the fourth person charged in connection with Mueller's investigation. More on this later with our insiders. Sexual harassment allegations are rocking Capitol Hill along with the entertainment and news industries. Some of the country's most respected politicians, journalists, and actors have been accused of sexual misconduct over the past couple of weeks. The Office of Compliance confirms the federal government has paid $17 million in taxpayer money to settle claims of sexual harassment, overtime pay disputes, and workplace violations in congressional offices during the past 20 years. Congressman Luke Messer wants to change that. He's filing a bill to ban taxpayer dollars from being used to settle those claims and release staffers from any non-disclosure agreements that would prevent them from sharing their story.
How prevalent is sexual assault in Congress?
Well, listen, I'm as shocked as anybody by the stories that have come out recently. I was shocked to learn that taxpayer dollars were being used to settle sexual harassment claims. More needs to be done, and we're going to work to make sure that happens.
Is this strictly in response to Representative Conyers? Is it political?
No, I frankly think this is a bipartisan concern. I'm a husband of a professional wife and the father to two daughters. I think it's long past time that America wake up to challenges with sexual harassment in the workplace. Congress should be leading in this area, not trailing the rest of the country. So it's long past time we do more.
How can Congress in good faith pass a bill like this and then potentially allow Roy Moore into the Senate to serve? What message do you think that could tell voters?
Yeah, well, listen, I've been clear about my position on Roy Moore. This will now be in the hands of the voters of Alabama.
An initial hearing is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon for City County Councillor Jeff Miller, who faces 3 felony counts of child molestation. It's the same day the Committee on Committees will meet to review Miller's assignments and decide whether to remove him from those panels. Republicans continue to step up the pressure on Miller to step down after he initially told party leaders he would. He had no comment last week after making his first public appearances in his elected role since the charges were handed down. Councillor, do you have plans to step down? Do you think you can effectively serve on council while these criminal charges are underway? The Republican tweeted photos from 3 separate events last week. He discussed a number of issues, but not the criminal charges that he faces. The clock is ticking in Washington to prevent a government shutdown. Plus, the U.S. Senate race in Indiana is heating up as 2018 inches closer. Who has the momentum? Indianapolis This Week's Beth Vaughn sat down with ABC political director Rick Klein.
Rick, are we headed for a government shutdown? And if so, who is to blame?
The odds have gone up in the last 24 hours after the Democrats decided to boycott that meeting with President Trump. Look, Democrats will say that Republicans control the whole government. And it's true that if they just got their own votes in line, they could keep the government open just with Republican votes. It is also true that Democrats know that they have a lot to say about this, and they know how important their votes are. And stepping away from that negotiating table, they think that because Trump said he didn't want to deal, whatever the reason, there are going to be a lot of pressure on them as well. Historically, the party in power gets a lot more blame than the party out of power, but I think there's already a lot of positioning around a potential shutdown.
And back here at home, Rick, the U.S. Senate race in Indiana is heating up. It'll be one of the key races for both Republicans and Democrats coming up in 2018. Are there any early projections thus far?
oh, this is going to be an A-list race. And I think people are talking about Senator Donnelly as one of the most endangered members of the Senate. They also like, though, the way that he's cut his own profile in the Senate, is able to differentiate himself. I think because it's Mike Pence, the vice president's home state, because there are just so few states where the Senate really can be determined, Republicans are going to be looking to Indiana as one place to make some headway and to try to cushion what is now only a 2-seat advantage in the Senate.
Indiana House Democrats have a new caucus leader. Representative Terry Gooden now holds the role of House Minority Leader. He replaces Representative Scott Pelath, who stepped down from the leadership post and announced he won't seek re-election. Gooden says he's willing to work with Republicans.
We will be able to reach across the aisle, we'll be able to shake hands, and we will disagree when we disagree, and when we agree, we'll be able to move forward. And I don't think there's any reason for discourse or contention. I think the only way you can get things done is to be able to move forward, and you always attract more bees with honey than you do brine.
Gooden says the party recognizes elections play a major role in making Democrats more relevant at the State House. He isn't commenting on specifics for a plan, but Democrats have said that redistricting is one of their top priorities in 2018. A TV legend and Indy 500 staple has passed away. Jim Nabors died Thursday at his Hawaii home. He was 87. Nabors last performed back home again in Indiana at IMS in 2014. Since then, several performers have tried their hand at singing the iconic tune. But after 36 years behind the microphone, Nabors' legacy has become untouchable.
Jim Nabors had this deep, booming sound, but it was so comforting at the same time that it spoke Indiana. You know, we're all about, you know, that state that works hard but also makes people feel at home.
We also heard from the president of IMS, Doug Bowles. He tweeted, "Heartbroken. Jim was as much a part of IMS and the 500 as every driver that has competed here. His performances of Back Home Again in Indiana on race day every year were the best 90 seconds of the year for many of our fans. Not born here, but a true Hoosier." Indianapolis lost a well-known businessman and philanthropist last week. Andre Lacey died in a motorcycle crash on Thursday in southern Africa. He was 78. Lacey is known for serving on the State Fair Commission. He helped investigate the deadly stage collapse at the Indiana State Fair in 2011. He also donated $25 million to Butler University. Butler's business school is named in his honor. Lacey was the chairman of the Hoosier company, LDI. The big story of the week, Michael Flynn pleading guilty to making false statements to the FBI in the Russia investigation. Our insiders are in next, talking about what's next and the possible fallout.
Nobody else to turn to.
He's a Rottweiler.
Welcome back. We are joined by our political insiders, Democrat Jamar Cobb-Denard and Republican Marissa Lynch. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How significant is this revelation with Michael Flynn?
I would say it's significant in the fact that justice is served, right? I mean, he lied, he was found guilty, and now he will face the consequences of that. And I think that that's an important step for the American people.
Unfortunately, Michael Flynn is a scapegoat, and he's being used by the Trump administration to hold back what could be the truth. The fact of the matter is, once he took the plea, discovery ends. So now America won't know and won't have the access to the discovery tools to really understand what's behind that plea deal.
What could the fallout be here? Should the vice president be concerned at this point?
If they've done nothing wrong, then of course not. I mean, why would they have anything to be concerned about? I think that they followed the right steps. I mean, as soon as they found out that he was lying, they fired him. So I don't think that there's any reason to be concerned.
Jamar, you agree?
No, you know, this year has been Russia, Russia, Russia since really the election last year. And I'm sure there'll be somebody else that comes up. We'll have to go through this all again.
Do you see this as a distraction in the meantime at the White House?
No, I don't know it's necessarily about a distraction. I mean, it's going to be as much of a distraction as people end up making it, right? I mean, on the one hand, you could see this start to play out, and where it gets a bunch of play, and people don't focus on the actual issues that are actually playing out. Like we've got, you know, tax reform, healthcare, a bunch of important issues that are being discussed right now. Well, if people are going to continue to focus on the Flynn and investigations that are playing out, well then, not. I mean, I will say I do think that there's a little bit of a double standard standard here. Obviously Flynn should have been, he should face the consequences of what he's doing, but the double standard kind of comes into play when everybody's trying to sweep under the rug what Hillary has done rather than actually look at investigating that.
This is part of being in the White House, right? There's always something going on, whether it's about policy or whether it's about rumor, right? But if we have enough trouble with our election system as it is, if something really was askew last fall and last year, we need to get to the bottom of it.
What's the process? What happens next in this?
I'm assuming it'll be sentencing, and then it sounds like there could be some discussions about what other investigations would be popping up or continuing.
Tax reform, these discussions continue. Do you see this issue playing a role in the races next year, specifically in the Indiana U.S. Senate race?
I guess it could. I think it's going to be a compound effect, right? I don't think that this issue alone would have an effect. I think that it would be this issue as well as health care, as well as the actual political environment at that time. Obviously, in politics, 12 months is a lifetime. So.
When you roll back the skin on this tax plan, the middle class actually gets a tax increase by 2027. And surprisingly, that's Donald Trump's base. So if people really know that, this could really affect the Senate race because that's Trump's base, and also with the slim margin that the Republicans have in the Senate already, once that comes out, that could mean a death nail to the Senate race.
We've heard a lot of pressure on Senator Joe Donnelly to vote for this plan. Is this a lose-lose situation for him?
That's really tough because on its face and up front, this does give a tax decrease to a lot of people in the next 2 years. But long term, I don't think it's good for the citizens of our country.
Yeah, and I would say that. I just hope that, he's taking into consideration that 68% of Hoosiers are in favor of tax reform.
City County Councilor Jeff Miller, what does his continued presence on the council, what is the impact of that?
That is just an incredibly unfortunate situation. You've got the state party chairman, you've got the county Republican chairman, you've got his Republican colleagues all saying that he needs to step down and resign his position. Unfortunately, this kind of looks like a situation where his pride, his desire for self-service is getting in the way of his public service.
When you have situations like this, it's always tough. I feel incredibly bad for the victims in this situation, but Jeff Miller remaining on the council can be a cancer to the Republican Party, and for himself and for his party, he should go.
Do you agree with that? You think it can be a cancer? Is it a distraction to council Republicans who try to move forward with business?
It could be. As long as they don't allow it to. I think that they're all pretty committed to kind of hoping to make that so that that's not the situation. So he doesn't become a cancer. I think next week it is that or is it later this week that they'll actually be sitting down and chatting about removing him from his actual committees too. And I think that that's a step in the right direction to ensure that that does not happen.
The president's tweets this week, any comments on those?
To me, it's a crazy distraction. So you've got the tweet that occurs, and then you've got the Prime Minister of the UK in response saying, yeah, that does nothing for UK-US relations, where it's the exact same as it has been before the tweet, and oh, by the way, we're still inviting him to come and visit. So to me, it's a huge distraction. It's a little bit frustrating that people focus so much on his tweets and not on his actual record of, you see the stock market breaking records, you see the real economic growth, you see the lowest unemployment rate in a decade, you see that he has actual appointees getting appointed to circuit courts. To me, it's just all a distraction.
Let's turn off the Twitter and let's get back to the job. Really, as I look through his feed, it's a lot of campaigning, talking about Muslim extremism or illegal immigrants flooding the United States. Really, it's just a storyline that he's picked up from his campaign, and it's going to continue until 2020.
Thank you both for being here. We'll continue the conversation online. Up next, from the traditional to Christmas trees like you've never seen before, the Festival of Trees is lighting up the Indiana History Center. Up next, our Erica Fly gives you a look at this holiday extravaganza.
Logistics are furnished by Celadine.
I'm Erica Fly, and 6 in the City is at the Indiana History Center, lighting up your holidays. This is the Festival of Trees.
It's It's just a wonderful way to get into the spirit of the season.
Trees, trees, and more trees, with some taking trees to new heights.
It's an 8-foot A-frame wooden ladder. It's an antique.
Two chicks and a hammer, Karen and Mina from HGTV's Good Bones, designed a tree like only they could, complete with doorknobs, hanging light fixtures, and crystals.
We rubbed it with gold leaf, that's a wax paste, and then we just blinged it out.
It's the 4th year and the largest for the Festival of Trees. It started with just 25 on display.
Last year we had 72. This year we have 80 plus our special centerpiece tree.
It's a 30-foot towering tree you can walk through.
And if you'd like to stop, you can sneak a kiss with somebody under that tree.
Under the mistletoe.
Under the mistletoe.
Visitors vote for their favorite tree, and the event supports a good cause, education programs at IHS.
And you just chat with people, you get in the Christmas spirit, see all the pretty trees, and we're doing good, right? We're supporting the Indiana Historical Society and all the amazing work they do here in Indiana.
At the Salvation Army's Most Good Tree, you take a tag from a branch with a child's wish list. You go shopping, they get it to the child.
Make it a Merry Christmas for so many people that wouldn't have a Christmas at this time of year.
From hopping into bunny suits at the Christmas Story display.
A lot of people use it for their holiday cards.
And back to that blinged out ladder. Everyone here is going above and beyond to make your holidays merry and bright.
We're already brainstorming for next year.
And you can see the Festival of Trees through January 6th at the Indiana History Center in downtown Indy. For prices and hours, go to the link at the hot button at theindychannel.com.
An organization that pushes for the separation of church and state says the Evansville Reitz high school football coach violated the First Amendment when he prayed with his team after a victory. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is seeking an investigation of Coach Andy Hape for the October 14th prayer. The organization argues such prayers are illegal. According to the Evansville Courier and Press, an official from the school district said the prayer was student-led, and that's, quote, acceptable at any of our schools. Have you ever wondered what the sell-by or used-by dates on meat packages really mean? An Indianapolis mom posed that question to us when she saw some dates on packages that were expired. Our Derek Thomas gets answers to those questions.
Experts we talk to say that there is nothing magic about an expiration date, but consumers we talk to are very worried about it.
26-year-old Tiffany Burdine sent us photographs of packages of meat at a local grocer that had expired dates on them. She bought some sausage with an expired date. She said she never even looked at it when she was in the store.
I feel like I should, but I didn't think about that at the time. I made a specific trip up there just to grab breakfast sausage and leave. I mean, I just went up there, saw a sausage, it looked good. I grabbed a pack, I paid for it. I didn't even think nothing of the expiration date.
Are expiration dates required, and what do they mean? According to the United States Department of Agriculture, except for infant formula, dates are not an indicator of the product's safety and are not required by federal law. Faced with an expired date on your meat, what should you do?
If it's fresh product, and we're not talking about frozen here, it could very well still be safe to eat if you cook it, again, cook it to a proper temperature, handle it, keep it stored properly, those type of things. It's not necessarily something to be overly alarmed about. Now, if it's excessively out of date, if it's 2-3 weeks longer, then certainly be concerned about it and take it back to the store.
Burdine thinks stores should do a better job of monitoring their expiration dates, but now that she knows the rest of the story, she will do better checking for herself and her family. Derek Thomas, RTV6.
Join the conversation. Check out Indy This Week on Twitter and be sure to like the RTV6 Facebook page. Up next, we're looking at the 6 things you need to know for this week. Lauren Casey is here with the 6 coming up.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Lauren Casey. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things coming up this week in Indy. Well, you guys want to see some magic? You are in luck. Famed illusionist David Blaine is coming right here to the Circle City. You can watch his show live at the Old National Center on Monday at 8 p.m. And who doesn't love a holiday classic? You and the kids can come see a special one-time screening of It's a Wonderful Life at the IMAX Theater right here in downtown. You can watch George Bailey discover the importance of his own life at the Indiana State Museum on Tuesday at 6:30. We'll take a stroll through a winter wonderland. Winter Lights at the New Fields here. It's a new outdoor lighting exhibit for the whole family at the Indianapolis Museum of Art. You can enjoy those twinkle lights by the warmth of a fire with a hot cup of cocoa or apple cider through January. Well, the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana are hosting their annual holiday sing. You can enjoy the sounds of familiar carols there at the Indiana State Museum lobby on Saturday at noon. And if you want a fun night out for the whole family, you can dress up and go see the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra's Yuletide celebration. The shows start up this past weekend. They'll continue until the 23rd. And on Saturday, you and the kids can head on over to Victory Field for a special meet and greet with Rowdy Claus. This is all happening from 10 until 2 at the clubhouse. Parking for the event is free, but they are asking you to bring items to donate to the Wheeler Mission. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
Thanks, Lauren, and thank you for joining us for Indianapolis This Week. Continue to follow breaking news all week on the RTV6 app. Have a great week ahead. We'll see you next Sunday.